Hey, what's going on, guys? You downloaded a brand new episode of Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo, and as always, I am your host, Elvis Arroyo, and this is episode 53, and on this episode, guys, we are speaking Elimination Chamber on the road to WrestleMania. Also going to give you guys what to watch for and my MVPs and floppers of the week, so stick around for that. But before we get started, guys, I want to give you a quick reminder that you could subscribe to this podcast on YouTube by looking us up at Speaking Wrestling. You can also get with us on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and also on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle. You can also email this podcast at speakingwrestling@gmail, and donations if anybody wants to contribute to this podcast at Cashapp. Don't forget the $, Speaking Wrestling before that. And let's get on to the show, guys. Big week coming off a pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber live this weekend, Sunday, from Philadelphia. I'm going to give you guys a brief breakthrough of what happened, guys, during the pay-per-view. It was just another glorified edition of Raw with a big pay-per-view stage in Philadelphia, but nonetheless, this was a good show. There were some good matches through this. Again, it wasn't a hyped up pay-per-view. You almost forgot that this was actually going to happen this weekend. And with Super Showdown just that went down around the corner about a week ago, you know, to have another pay-per-view come this fast is maybe a little bit too much, maybe a little bit too clustered, maybe kind of, you know, you should have just used the Super Showdown as your pay-per-view between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. But you know, with Elimination Chamber, it's their annual pay-per-view, and it's the best way to find out, you know, who's going to determine number one contenders and also new tag team champions. But in this case, we got retaining tag team champions in the first Elimination Chamber match of the evening. The SmackDown championships tag team championships on the line, and this was a good match. But I gotta be honest with you guys, this was another spot fest, as it would be. It's an Elimination Chamber match, and you get used to these matches. But yeah, just the way that this one went down, I won't say that it wasn't my favorite out of these tag team Elimination Chambers, or any really. Again, this is why I feel like this match, though it looks cool, the structure is, you know, cool, and they did a redesign of the chamber about 3 years ago. Yeah, you know, it's an attraction. It's definitely a gimmick match to see, but I just felt too much. There's too much bodies in this. You know, it's a tag team Elimination Chamber, and they went for the strategy of, let's get everybody out of the pods and into the match at one time, so they can do 1,000 stunts on each other. Which, you know, with so much flipping and diving, you know, you see it so much on AEW, and you see it so much in wrestling these days, that it doesn't matter anymore. To me, whenever I see a guy, and even when it's a big giant guy, like, you know, we had Heavy Machinery do incredible stuff on this one. We had Tucker come off one of the pods, you know, onto everybody. Yeah, when you see a 300-pound guy do something like that, yeah, it's a holy shit moment. Yeah, it's a this is awesome moment, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything. And that's why I don't give a fuck about flips and dives, because they don't mean anything. It's just, oh, look what I can do. Or like, yeah, it's just to get the crowd go thinking. Because when you are in a live audience, when you do see someone, you know, fly over the ropes or do something off the top rope, you know, people find that very interesting, and they're gawking for that stuff, because who in the right mindset, other than a professional wrestler, is going to get up on the top rope and come down on someone, or come down on the mat? Or who the hell is going to, you know, come off the ring and down onto the floor? Sometimes you land on your opponent, you don't, you hit the mat, or you hit the concrete, or, you know what I mean? So of course it's you know, it's those magnificent feats of athleticism that someone does that does make the audience go, ooh, ah. Yeah, you do get those moments when you do go to a live wrestling show, but I mean, it's just, there's no point to a lot of those. I mean, you're just throwing your body at will and hoping that it hits your opponent, and not supposed to do something, but then they get back up and do a bunch of spots, and there's no psychology to it. And I just really felt that this match was corny. It really was corny, and not Jim Cornette corny. That probably would have made it a lot better. Probably would have made it better if Corny was on commentary. Hey, but again, not my favorite match. Not my favorite Elimination Chamber. John Morrison and The Miz retain here in a match. But again, you know, there are some highlights to this. Otis going through a pod. Otis being very over with the crowd, heavy machinery. I hate maybe the tag team championship's coming, but again, it's coming. So are you excited when you know that okay, they're just gonna do this to get this happy moment out of it? Yeah. Other than that, this was a good show. I gotta say, the United States Championship match between Humberto Carrillo going up against Andrade, the United States champion. This is a terrific match, and it's another one of those where it's like, okay, we've seen these guys work so many times. We really gotta watch them again. Yes, we do, and hopefully this is the last time. But again, these two guys showed that they are two competitors that are young, hungry for a bigger opportunities, and they know that every single thing that they do out in the ring and the reactions that they get from the audience is going to help them catapult them to the next level. And certainly Andrade, who, we know now is with Charlotte Flair engaged. And I see a lot of growth in his game, whether it's because of Charlotte's influence, or I think there's an influence there of the fact that, like, you need to hold yourself at a higher place in the card, or, on the roster. Like Andrade, if it does seem weird, like if Andrade is with Charlotte Flair and Andrade is just this guy always hanging around the mid cards, dealing with just rookies and not battling and having the battles that he should be. I think right now Seth Rollins being caught up in the storyline where it's focused on Kevin Owens, which again, nobody asked to relive this stupid storyline, and nobody's asking for Kevin Owens to be like this sympathetic baby face, which actually no, he is. No one's asked for that, but he's becoming that. I think what a lot of people want from Kevin Owens is to be this like badass guy that like we think he could be, and WWE and himself have been trying to portray that he's the second coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin, the most badass character ever, the most rebellious character, anti-hero, and all this shit, the perfect antagonist, to professional wrestling. And we're supposed to believe that Kevin Owens is this kind of Stone Cold, like this kind of CM Punk kind of cult figure too, but in reality he's not. And again, it sounds like I'm just hammering on Kevin Owens like I have a personal vendetta against this guy, which I don't. I like Kevin Owens. I think he puts on hell of a great matches. He's great on the mic. He's got talent for that, but this character, this oh, woe is me and feel sorry for me type of thing, just like we saw on Monday Night Raw, where they show the footage of him showing up, and there's AOP and there's Murphy and there's Seth, and he's just standing there just kind of like, oh, okay, oh, I see, it's 4 against 1. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw my suitcase, and it's only going to hit somebody once and not do a goddamn thing. And then I'm going to get my ass beat. Because I'm Kevin Owens and, doing it for my son. Doing it for my family. It's just, that to me isn't a badass. Aleister Black is more of a badass, and yet his character has been one that's been diminished just a bit with the whole him wearing suits and him kind of having like this split personality between him wanting to fight and wanting to challenge and being upset that nobody wants to fight him, and then him not joining Seth Rollins and his crew of guys. That to me seems like the real guy. I mean, if I kind of sense that this is all gonna lead to a Kevin Owens, Aleister Black, War Raiders 4-on-4 match against Rollins, Murphy, AOP, and it'll be at WrestleMania, and it'll probably be no DQ, and it's just gonna be a big fucking spot fest, and Kevin Owens is gonna win, and Seth Rollins is gonna go away, and that's it. And that is it. I mean, that's it. If that's going to happen, how many fucking times do we need to see a combination? Or it's going to be the Street Profits. It could be them too. Or it's a combination of Kevin Owens and the Viking Raiders or the Street Profits or Samoa Joe. It's just, this is dragging on too long, and we're not getting anything out of it. Kevin Owens is not coming, like, when he's done dealing with Seth Rollins. Oh, he is a top contender. Oh, maybe he can then fight another challenge. But in reality, it's just a guy that shows up because he's doing this for his family. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he's not the character that we're looking to get behind. He's not a mainstream, like, character. I'm not saying like his look isn't something that you can market, but it's just not going to happen if they think that, okay, we need strong players. Who's our strong player? Well, Kevin Owens is the only one we got. Well, maybe because you haven't helped build the rest of the roster, or maybe because you're not positioning Aleister Black in a good position, or maybe Andrade. Andrade, it would benefit him to drop that title at some point. He's been a great champion, and longevity is great, but again, he's not having these 5-star matches that makes you think that, like, okay, that title is covenant. It means something. It almost really doesn't. It's all these titles are in a way back to being a prop. You got the Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Shinsuke. That whole thing is just a prop. I mean, again, Braun Strowman, good guy, great competitor. Happy that he is the Intercontinental Champion. That's a great accomplishment in this industry. But however, that title is just a prop for entertainment matches, not matches where the title is more important than the wrestlers and the match itself. I mean, it used to be that the Intercontinental Championship could just sell out a show and that be the main attraction to a pay-per-view. There was times where, I looked forward to the Intercontinental Championship match because I knew that was the match that you were going to get your money's worth. Now, again, things can change leading into WrestleMania, but who knows? AJ Styles and Aleister Black. We keep talking about Aleister Black here. This was just a random Raw match on a pay-per-view. It had The Undertaker. I predicted that was going to happen. I told my son, I'm like, hey, Undertaker's going to come out. Aleister Black's probably going to win or whatever. So let's cut to the final Elimination Chamber match of the evening, which was the women's #1 contender for Becky Lynch's Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. And this was a match that kind of went by. And again, it was a very dominant effort by Shayna Baszler, who eliminated the entire field on her own. First time that has ever happened inside of a chamber, especially for a women's match. Good stuff there. Again, this is the way you should build Shayna. There's no need for this vampire biting the neck off of Becky Lynch, this bloodthirsty character. You don't need that. You just need to put her in the ring and show that she's a badass. And that's how she is. And now we go into Monday night. And I've been very critical about Becky Lynch in the past few weeks, especially as who she's turned into. I mean, her run isn't really that memorable, isn't a big deal. It hasn't elevated the championship. It hasn't elevated her character. It's almost like she's been hiding, on the other side of the wings in here waiting for the opportunity. And you're just kind of like, where's the Becky Lynch that we remember, that we were all behind? Now it's like, it's just Becky Lynch, the champion, whatever, the man. And it was like that for a couple of weeks where I really thought she'd come out being too cool for school, kind of having this attitude of like, when you get fame, once you get fame and you get a little bit more money, you kind of, you start acting, your ego starts acting out, and you start acting like, you're too cool, or really kind of like, when she came out with the sunglasses a couple weeks ago and the nice, very flashy jacket, that's drawing so much attention. It just, to me, it reminded me of like a girl in high school that's, wearing expensive stuff, or went out to the mall and got all the stuff because, it's like, hey, look at me, I'm cool, aren't I cool, type of thing. And a little bit kind of too cute, a little bit too forced. And this week, Becky came out and cut a promo to open up Monday Night Raw, which was perfect. Just the way Becky Lynch needs to carry herself as the champion, as the man, as this dominant force in the women's division. I mean, we're about to have a champion that has held the championship for over a year. You know what I mean? We always talk about CM Punk. We talk about AJ Styles. We talk about Hulk Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, and their records as being champions. But now we're going to actually talk about Becky Lynch doing that. And it's not Charlotte. It's not Charlotte going on one of these year-long calendar reigns. It's Becky Lynch. So she's about to accomplish something that no other woman has done in this industry, which is, it's tremendous. It's huge. But for her to come out and just be like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm too cool for school. Becky 2 belts. It's kind of like, that's not the Becky that we cheer for. That's not, your ego is shining through. But when it's Becky Lynch who's focused and poised, knowing that, what weighs on her, the championship and what it means to her, the division and what she's been through the past year, who she's defeated and why this challenge, she's going to go right through it. This is the Becky Lynch that we need. This is the Becky Lynch that's inspirational. Yeah, she's cut some inspirational promos, but they're too forced. This one felt kind of like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. I can get behind this Becky Lynch, figuratively, folks, okay? Because this is the Becky Lynch that we know. This is the Becky Lynch that oh shit, the match is going to be great. And Shayna, who's already a tremendous competitor and a threat to Becky Lynch, this is what you need. So that promo made me feel like we're back on the right track with the Becky Lynch Shayna Baszler storyline. So I'm all for that. Good stuff there. WWE's doing good stuff right now. There's some stuff that I think that they could be doing a lot better. I've expressed myself on that stuff. Another thing that I do got to point out, and because we are talking about the women, let's shift things over to SmackDown. So SmackDown's women's division, to me, I think it's one of the most weakest. Well, actually, both women's divisions are. I mean, again, we're living in this like women empowerment. We're coming off the women's revolution. We're we're gonna have 3 women championship matches at WrestleMania. Charlotte challenges Rhea Ripley for the NXT Championship. Bayley, yet still, we don't know who she's defending at WrestleMania. And it's going to be Becky and Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. So, again, it's not to say that, like, hey, we're in a women empowerment, but there's nothing going on. But yet there's going to be 3 women's championship matches at WrestleMania and then the Women's Royal Rumble. So, women are getting their shot. I'm not saying that they're not getting their shot, but I just don't think that we're in a way, we're kind of like back to that comfort zone of you only feature the women on short segments and you kind of have them like pigeonhole in a corner. And it seems like that with the Becky Baszler storyline. To me, that seems Raw in general, it seems like there's no lead storyline. Like, I think some might say that it's the AJ Undertaker, but then some might say no, it's the Seth Rollins Kevin Owens thing. Some might say it's the Becky Lynch storyline. Some might say it's the Charlotte storyline. Others might say that it's the Drew McIntyre storyline. So no one knows who's really going to main event and which storyline going into WrestleMania holds more importance over the other ones. So again, with Raw, it's like you don't know that, but with SmackDown, you've got the Universal Championship with Goldberg and Roman Reigns. The tag titles will be figured out, but again, I have a feeling that's going to go to like Heavy Machinery or someone else, but they'll definitely be involved. And then, of course, the Intercontinental Championship, we talked about that. I think that might have a direction coming this Friday where we might know where that's going towards. But again, the women's champion, man, women are just, I just feel like there's enough women there, but they're given time. Okay. I'm not saying they're not given time, but they're not being like structured in a way where you're getting the most out of them. And I'm not saying physically, I'm saying like where you feel like, hey, wow, I know more. Like I'm interested. This Dana Brooke seems like someone that like they're building on, but then, they just use Dana Brooke. They might just use her this past week on SmackDown just to be a fill-in tag team partner for Naomi. And then we might not see Dana Brooke for another 3 weeks, and we might not see her till the women's battle royal at WrestleMania because she's kept off TV and because they only needed her for a tag team match because they're telling the story of, Naomi and Sasha and Bayley, of course. But again, it's like when you do that, you're hurting a woman that you could be gaining stuff off, who could be a future potential challenger, or you might never know the full capabilities of a Dana Brooke, because we just put her in the spot where she's just the extra hand when someone needs a tag team partner, and of course none of those tag teams ever make sense, because I think Dana is on her own, and they need to embrace the fact that she's on her own. I know it seems like I'm just focusing on Dana, but back to Bayley. Bayley right now, she's the champ, but hasn't felt like the champ, and I don't think that, and she doesn't feel like the champ. I feel like since she's gone through this makeover, which was good, but she comes out walking like almost as if she's like so uncertain about who she is, and so uncertain about like, am I in the right spot? Like, am I here? Am I? And it's like, you're the champ, but she walks around kind of like, I'm not happy where I'm at in my professional like business. You know what I mean? And I'm not happy. It's like, you're at the top. And again, it could be her, hey, go out there and don't look happy. You know what I mean? So, but again, I just feel like she's not confident in her skin right now, or she's not confident in this role. Could it be the fact that she's the champ, but she's just so paired up with Sasha Banks that it's kind of like, hey, I would like to fly on my own and start or you know what I mean? Like, I think what maybe she wants is, she wants to be the heel champion, but on her own. Like, she doesn't want to be accompanied to the ring by anyone, and I don't blame her. I don't think that the Sasha Banks character right now and Bayley need to be together. I think it's a more of that, hey, they're just best friends. Let's put them together. Let's keep them together. We can't keep them apart, so we'll just keep them together. But again, it hurts both of those girls. And when you go back, I'm just saying, go back and watch last week's SmackDown, which most of you guys won't. And you'll see that during Sasha's music, which is with Bayley, but they're playing Sasha's music, and they do the pose, when they get up on the apron, and they focus on Bayley, and you can just tell she gives like this smile, like the kind of like, oh, smile for the camera, or smile, when you walk past someone and you kind of give that, kind of like a like false security sense of like a smile, kind of like happy, but you're not. And I feel kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of wrong. You're a heel, you're pissed off, and the only time you're happy, it's because Sasha Banks doing her pose, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, we're superstars and we pose. So it's kind of like, oh look, happy, smile, but it's kind of like, but you're not happy, and and then it looks like you're not happy, but then you're happy about that. It's kind of like, it's there was a moment where it got real, and you saw like, okay, her real emotion let out right there, and it wasn't supposed to. So I just think that the Bayley character right now on SmackDown is struggling. I just don't think that the women's division on both shows are strong. I just don't, because when you're only, and again, it's WrestleMania, there's no need to focus on 20 storylines when you're only selling 10. So I understand we're only focusing right now on just two women going, competing for a championship. They're not going to convolute it and turn it into an 8-pack challenge, although SmackDown might go in that direction. Or maybe the Women's Battle Royal will be for the SmackDown's Women's Championship. I think that would help with the timing of the show and, number of matches. Just turn two into one. All right, guys, and with that being said, guys, let's get on into our what to watch. What to watch this week, guys? It's NWA Power and MLW Fusion, guys. Like always, I always give you guys this recommendation, guys. NWA Power has been entertaining. I've been keeping up with it. Good stuff there. Eli Drake and James Storm are the tag team champions. They defeated the Rock and Roll Express. Good stuff there. The great work leading up to right now. It's going to be Marty Scurll, the villain, and again, the champion Nick Aldis having what's going to be a good matchup for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Good stuff there, man. And Jacob Fatu, who competed against Zima, who's been featured on AEW before, Good stuff there, man. I mean, good quality stuff. Again, best alternative to WWE and AEW, some MLW and some NWA fusions. Good stuff there. Now let's get into our MVPs and floppers of the week, guys. This is where I give you guys my MVPs and those who flopped for the week, guys. This week's MVP, guys. I saw a lot of good stuff this weekend. Great wrestling action. But, I gotta say that my MVP for the week, it's going to be Andrade. Andrade, once again, putting on a hell of a performance. And Rey Mysterio. I got to say, Rey Mysterio on Monday had a great match. But Andrade, United States champion, great victory. The match between him and Carrillo this Sunday was really good, really entertaining. And again, to me, I just always feel like this guy needs to be up in the upper echelon of main event players. He needs to be there. And I mean, again, with the influence of Charlotte, who's a great champion, why wouldn't he, want to ascend to where she's at? You know what I mean? So, but again, he's in the men's division and he should be going up against guys like Rollins, and he should be going up against guys like Owens and having these terrific matchups that I know he could have. Drew McIntyre. These two guys competed for the NXT championship and down over in NXT, had a great matchup at a takeover. And again, Drew McIntyre sustained an injury during that match. There's a story there. There's a story between those two. So, hey, Andrade going after the championship after Drew captures it at WrestleMania. Good stuff there. Flopper of the week. Again, it could be very easy for me to just say Kevin Owens flop for me this week. But, again, another week where I feel like a lot of people were working very hard to make this very possible. But flop for me, I'm going to just go with the Elimination Chamber tag team match. Again, I just not a fan of high spots, and I'm not a fan of, moves being set up and where, again, you do work with one another to go out there and perform these maneuvers and to make it look good for the audience. But you're not really supposed to show the audience that you're working together, especially when you're opponents in a match. So that takes me out of it. At that point, I was just watching it to get it over with. So that's my floppers of the week, guys. Sorry I got a little bit negative there, but that's my take on this. And thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Speaking Wrestling, guys. This has been episode 53. Thank you so much. And if you guys want to get in contact with this podcast, you can find us over on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling, over on Twitter at Speaking Wrestling. Of course, guys, you can follow, subscribe, and hit the like button, please. When you follow us on YouTube, you can find us at Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo. Thank you guys so much for that. You can also donate to this podcast if you guys want to help contribute through the Cashapp. Use the $ before Speaking Wrestling. You can also get in contact with me, have any questions, suggestions for this podcast through our Gmail at speakingwrestling.gmail, guys. Thank you so much for another great episode. I hope you guys have a great wrestling week in Australia. Good night. Have a great week. Bye-bye.